The story opens with the gods gathering for the millennium-long meeting on human extermination. Zeus asks the gods if they will grant humanity another 1,000 years of life. Everyone votes for humanity's expansion, but before the decision is finalized, Brunhild, the eldest of the 13 Valkyrie sisters, interrupts the proceedings and suggests a war between the gods and humans. Ragnarok is a sequence of battles between the gods and humanity, with 13 humans and 13 gods competing for victory. The gods decline because they feel it would be a waste of time and would not even be a competition. Brunhild teases them by yelling "baby, this automobile, baby." The gods' laughter echoed across the area, but it swiftly turned to great fury as they felt humiliated. Zeus comes up calmly and asks the gods if they want to fight. The gods gladly accept the challenge against humanity, and Ragnarok is officially started. We then enter the Brunhild Valhalla arena, where Thor will face China's ultimate hero Lubu in the opening match of Ragnarok. The fight begins with Lubu demonstrating human skills and how they aren't far off regarding sword strength. Thor decides to strengthen his hammer Mjolnir. In a flashback, we see giants wreaking havoc all over Asgard. Everyone is devoured since they lack the strength to combat these creatures, but just as all hope seems gone, Thor comes with the might of the Mjolnir. He destroys them with ease. While the survivors were terrified for their life, Thor got bored and slaughtered 66 giants by himself. We return to the fight as lightning spreads across the stadium as he performs Thor's hammer, which is aimed toward Lubu. Everyone thought Lubu was dead, but just as smoke clears, Thor is cut, and Lubu firmly declares that he is not terrible. We then show Lubu's journey since he was a child, as he traveled far and wide to become the greatest. Nothing got past him, from bears to battalions. Eventually, nothing could stand in his way. Lubu recognized there was no one on the planet who could compete with him. When he was apprehended one day and was going to be hanged, he begged for it to be over since he was dying of boredom. We then return to Thor and Lubu battling as he feels he has finally met someone with whom he can fight. Zeus observes the conflict and declares that something is wrong. He goes on to explain that no human being can survive a divine stroke. Brunhild is giggling. We return to before the combat and witness Gear, another of the 13 Valkyrie sisters, scheming for Ragnarok with Brunhild. Human-made weapons are toys in comparison to divine weaponry, yet the only thing that can survive is another divine weapon. As the rest of the Valkyrie sisters arrive, Rangrid takes a step forward and kneels to offer herself to the cause. We then return to combat as Bruno explains that a Valkyrie's body may transform into a human weapon. Valkyrie's distinct characteristics influence the weapons that are used. Shield Destroyer is Rangrid's value. Thor's glove is shattered by a Lubu spear, and all of mankind rejoices and waits to see a god defeated by a mortal. Thor's hammer falls to the ground, and the cobblestones melt, but Mjolnir begins to pulsate. Zeus then discloses that the glove shop exists not to protect him but to restrain his might and keep him from crushing Mjolnir before it wakes. Brunhild receives a notice for all Ragnarok participants. She then declares that at the end of the game, their champions would be renowned as the God Killers. Thor swings the hammer and then lets it fly in the direction of Lubu. Lubu, on the other hand, avoids it as he races to Thor at full speed, but as he reaches him, Mjolnir is close behind him, returning to Thor's. Lubu uses his spear to drive himself away from Thor's hammer, but Thor catches it and utilizes the speed to his advantage. They collide once more, causing the entire arena to quake. Lubu then blocks Thor's strike once more, but this time he suffers severe injury from the pressure, and his horse rushes to Lubu as he rises with his beyond damaged feet. Thor is overjoyed when he sees Lubu mount his horse. Lubu charges toward Thor at full speed. He then clutches the end of his spear. We then see Lubu exercising in the highlands, swinging numerous spears repeatedly. Then one day, Lubu was able to divide the sky in half. The Sky Eater was Lubu's tactic. Lubu employs his Sky Eater, while Thor employs his awoken thunder hammer. The collision is massive, yet as the smoke clears, Lubu's spear is shattered. Lubu sees his arm and bites it off while he is badly injured, one of his arms gone and the other dangling on a thread. He then looks up into the sky, thrilled with his victory in the war. Lubu feels delighted for the first time in a fight when Thor knocks his skull off to end the bout. Thor is pronounced the winner of the first match, 1-0 to the gods, with Rangrid and a decapitated Lubu on the ground. Brunel and Gear begin heading back to choose their next warrior. Gear is curious about what happened to Lubu and, more crucially, Rangrid. She claims that the soul is obliterated and merely turns into comic dust. Gear yells, wondering how she can be so calm since they'll never see Rangrid again. Brunhild returns her expression of exasperation and rage, asking how sobbing can help them fight the gods because the fate of all mankind is at stake in this war. Adam against Zeus is Ragnarok's second battle. Adam utilizes Volo with Sister Regan Leaf before the fight begins, and his weapon is brass knuckles. Cain and Abel offer their father words of support. The combat begins with Zeus charging Adam at full speed. Zeus strikes at Adam at 0.01 seconds, but he effortlessly avoids it. Zeus continues to flirt with jabs, steadily increasing the pace as he throws his meteor jab shower, and Adam manages to evade them all with ease. Zeus then kicks Adam, but he manages to avoid it. In return, Adam executes each of his maneuvers precisely, including the meteor jabs with which Zeus is pummeling and a divine act performed directly on his leg. Adam can precisely imitate divine tactics since he was made in God's likeness. Zeus begins to move his feet and accelerates as he attempts to kick Adam's skull off. Adam quickly imitates Zeus' footwork and kicks him in the face. Zeus prepares for a special move as we see a flashback of him fighting his father, Kronos. Zeus's special move, which gives dominion over time. Zeus discovered it and named it Time-Transcending Fist. However, the person who was injured ended up being sued since Adam can instantly replicate and dodge a hair encounter with one of his own. Everyone assumes Zeus is dead as he lies flat on the ground. We next travel to Eve's garden, where Adam was having a tranquil existence until one day Eve is accused of eating the forbidden fruit by the snake, who was only interested in Eve for himself. Even though the markings on the fruit were produced by the serpent himself, Heaven's score found humanity guilty 99% of the time. She was condemned to expulsion from Eden. However, Adam enters the court, knocking down the guard and clutching a basket full of fruit, which he then bites into and dumps out on the ground. He approaches Eve and informs her that if she is leaving, so will he. When Eve hugs him, the serpent becomes envious and attacks them both, but Adam defends himself by slicing the serpent's legs, and they leave Eden. Zeus jumps to his feet and jerks his head back into place just as Adam is about to be hailed as the victor. Zeus recognizes Adam and what he is capable of and asks him why he came out to battle. During the battle, Zeus spits blood, and a drop of the blood lands on Adam's eye, causing him to bleed from his eyes, allowing Zeus to ultimately hit Adam. For the first time, Zeus continues to strike while Adam defends himself. Brunhild claims Adam's eye injury was so bad that he might be blind. Adam's family and the rest of mankind beg him to give up. In despair, Adam hears a baby wailing in the throng and says he'll take care of it, just as Zeus strikes down Adam with maximum might, but Adam uses this to his advantage and pulls Zeus's hair and smiles at him, claiming he got him. They exchange final swings for several minutes, but it all comes to a halt with Zeus on his knees and Adam still standing with his arm extended. Zeus declares victory as everyone rejoices, but reality sets in as everyone realized Adam died standing. Zeus compliments Adam, saying that if endurance had been the deciding factor, he would have prevailed. Zeus is declared the winner with a score of 2-0 in favor of the gods. Gear rushes to Brunhild and encounters her sister's Riskier and inquires as to why Regan Leaf vanished. If the brass knuckles were unharmed, she would respond by explaining that Valen merges a human and a Valkyrie, and the destiny is shared by both. Hurst holds gear as she begins to cry, but then she tightens her grip on her face filled with rage, declaring that she will make them pay. Sasaki Kojiro vs. Poseidon is the third battle of Ragnarok. The bout begins with complete quiet as they confront each other, then suddenly, Kojiro lunges at Poseidon and is stabbed in the chest. Back to Kojiro. Still standing there, beginning to sweat, Kojiro was thinking of methods to attack Poseidon, but he had already been slain 18 times before the contest began. He charges toward him, ordering Poseidon to look at him. Poseidon had already murdered Adamus when he raised his head to look him in the face for the first time. Poseidon informs Hermes that there is a forger among them. Kojiro sits in the center of the game, declaring that he does not want to die. We then get a glimpse into Kojiro's history as a man who never won anything. He arrives late at the dojo, and an enraged Kakegatsu wishes to combat him. Kojiro resists his blow, but he continues to strike, knocking his blade out of his hands. Kojiro surrenders as he rushes him, and Kakegatsu becomes even more agitated when Kajimasa enters to calm him down. When Sagan, the dojo's creator, asked him why he surrendered so soon, he said that he could fight Kakegatsu 100 times and never win. Kojiro learned in nature rather than the dojo. 6 months later, he returns to the dojo, and everyone is taken aback by his look. Kakegatsu wants to try, but Kojiro claims he has already exceeded them. He swings at him but envisions himself being sliced in two and stops. Kojiro requests a lesson from Sagan and once again fails. For years, he didn't come to the dojo. Sagan comes to meet Kojiro one day after discovering he is working. Kojiro allows a blind Sagan inside the house, but even in his blindness, he can see the hard effort and commitment Kojiro has shown by having the names of everyone in the dojo crossed out on his sword, as he has exceeded them all, even Sagan himself. Kojiro then proceeded on a voyage in which he battled several swordsmen of various styles and repeatedly lost as he grew stronger. He went down in history as the greatest loser. He asked Poseidon if he would teach him a lesson in his honor. Kojiro runs forward and strikes his blade downward, just as Poseidon prepares to swing his trident. Suave is the technique used by Kojiro as he swings upward. Poseidon was able to avoid the attack and stare Kojiro in the eyes. Poseidon makes his opening move and employs the method of infiltrate, but Kojiro manages to avoid all of his swings. To produce a flawless image of Poseidon, Kojiro examined every feature of him, from his gait to how he breathes and his mannerisms. Poseidon halts his strikes, and the audience goes mad. Poseidon begins whistling, and Kojiro is stabbed in the side. Poseidon speaks to Kojiro for the first time and inquires if anything is wrong. With a sneer on his face, he brands him a loser. The gods in the crowd applaud Poseidon, but Poseidon gives them a harsh look and even names them low lives. Kojiro questions Poseidon about why he does not accept the assistance offered to him, but Poseidon responds that gods do not collaborate and rely on others. Kojiro then remarks that being a deity must be extremely lonely. Poseidon resumes his onslaught without hesitation as Kojiro attempts to avoid it, but Poseidon keeps the pressure on. Kojiro used his ability and had a chance to counterattack, but Poseidon came from behind and nearly struck him. Poseidon doesn't stop, but Kojiro switches his hold on the sword and strikes directly toward Poseidon's skull. He misses, and Poseidon snaps the sword in half. Kojiro claims he surrenders or would prefer to surrender. Kojiro inquires of Poseidon whether he has ever had to labor so hard for something that he has lost sight of time. He then apologizes for asking, claiming that he never had to. He then adds that the sword contains the history of the hearts of the men he has battled and that he will never lose to someone who does not have his own spirit, and the blades in his hands begin to shine. Kojiro revolumed as the two blades in Kojiro's hands depicts Reese's divided nature. Kojiro asked Poseidon if he wanted to battle to the death. He refers to him as a worm. They begin fighting each other once more. Kojiro was able to injure Poseidon with a woo for the first time in this entire fight by using diverse tactics from numerous individuals he had encountered on his voyage. Not only on his face, but also on his upper torso, and humanity, like in the Battle of Adam, began to believe in the impossible. Poseidon suddenly uses his blood to slick his hair back, and with an evil grin, he deems Kojiro arrogant for assuming he could predict his actions and should know his position as a human. He then let go of his grip on Kojiro's shoulder. Poseidon does not allow Kojiro to breathe while he employs the 40-day flood method. This drives him to the breaking point. Kojiro had reached the abyss's bottom. He merely went deeper as he prepared to accept the loss. Everyone he's ever fought would assist him while pretending to swing a sword. Poseidon slashes Kojiro, who is stopped by a straight block as he declares his will to win. The vibrations of the air and the tremors of the earth cause the blade of mankind to reach the bottom of the abyss at that precise time. As Poseidon creeps up on him, Kojiro begins to completely avoid his assaults. Kojiro slashes Poseidon's arm with his trident, but Poseidon catches his own arm and continues. This isn't enough as Kojiro slices Poseidon's other arm, but Poseidon doesn't give up, catching the trident in his lips and continuing to battle. Kojiro finishes the battle by slicing Poseidon across the breast. Poseidon, enraged, brands him a loser as his torso slips out of his body. Winning, according to Kojiro, feels quite amazing. The score is currently 2-1 in favor of the gods. When one of their own falls in front of them, the gods realize they aren't as untouchable as they thought. Zeus, Hermes, Ares, Loki, and Shiva discuss what transpired at the gods' castle. Zeus accepts and acknowledges mankind's might. If they are to triumph against humanity and Brunhild, they must take this seriously. Shiva declares that he will be the next one, but Zeus stops him, saying that the Greek gods have a debt that must be paid. The season ends here.
Leave us a like and subscribe to our channel.